সুপ্রিয় দর্শক সবাইকে আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি ফার্মিং ফিউচার বাংলাদেশ নিবেদিত দীপ্ত কৃষি সংলাপে পাওয়ার্ড বাই কাজী ফার্মস কো-স্পন্সর্ড বাই এয়ার মালিক সিড। দীপ্ত কৃষি সংলাপের মাধ্যমে আমরা নিয়মিত কৃষির নানাবিধ সমস্যা ও সমাধানের উপায় নিয়ে আলোচনা করি। আজকের এই বিশেষ আয়োজনে আমরা আলোচনা করব এগ্রিকালচারাল ট্রান্সফরমেশন এবং সেখানে কর্নেল এবং মিশিগান স্টেট ইউনিভার্সিটি সহ বিভিন্ন আন্তর্জাতিক প্রতিষ্ঠানগুলো কাজ করছে বাংলাদেশে। আমরা সেই প্রতিষ্ঠানের সাথে সম্পৃক্ত হয়ে কাজ করা প্রতিষ্ঠান হিসাবে অ্যালায়েন্স ফর সায়েন্স এবং গ্লোবাল সাউথ কী করে আসলে এই রিজিয়নগুলোতে কাজ করছে সে সম্পর্কে আলোচনা শুনবো। কৃষিতে যে ট্রান্সফরমেশন হচ্ছে সেখানে প্রযুক্তি কতটুকু গুরুত্বপূর্ণ ভূমিকা পালন করে, পলিসি অ্যাডভোকেসির কথা আমরা বলছি, আমরা টেক ট্রান্সফরমেশনের কথা বলছি। এই বিশেষ আয়োজনে আসলে আজকে আলোচনার জন্য আমাদের সাথে স্টুডিওতে যুক্ত হয়েছেন ডক্টর শিলা অচুবোজু, এক্সিকিউটিভ ডিরেক্টর কর্নেল অ্যালায়েন্স ফর সায়েন্স, এবং আমাদের সাথে রয়েছেন আকে মামো, ডিরেক্টর অফ কমিউনিকেশন অ্যালায়েন্স ফর সায়েন্স। অনুষ্ঠান সঞ্চালনায় আমি আরিফ আছি আপনাদের সাথে। দর্শক, আমরা জানি পৃথিবীতে যে ক্ষুধামুক্ত বিশ্ব গড়ার অঙ্গীকার নিয়ে আমরা রাষ্ট্র এবং বিভিন্ন রাষ্ট্রে কাজ করছি, সেখানে সরকার, বিজ্ঞানী, কৃষি প্রযুক্তিবিদরা এবং বেসরকারি প্রতিষ্ঠান সমন্বিতভাবেই কাজ করছেন। স্মল হোল্ডার ফার্মারদেরকে হেল্প করছেন, নতুন নতুন প্রযুক্তি নিয়ে এসছেন। আমরা এশিয়া এবং আফ্রিকাতে গত কয়েক দশকে কৃষির ব্যাপক পরিবর্তন লক্ষ্য করেছি এবং সেই পরিবর্তনগুলো কেন হচ্ছে, কী জন্য প্রয়োজন, সেই প্রসঙ্গে আলোচনা শুনবো। আলোচনার শুরুতে আমি ডক্টর শিলার কাছে জানতে চাইবো যে আসলে ট্রান্সফরমেশনগুলো কী করে হচ্ছে। ডক্টর শিলা, ফার্স্ট অফ অল I would like to welcome you and Miss Ake in our weekly talk show. It's a privilege and opportunity for me to host you, and Farming Future Bangladesh has been partnering with Alliance for Science, and we have recently initiated Global South of Asia initiative. So it's a privilege and opportunity for me to hear from you. I'd start with the discussion that what Alliance for Science and Global South Hub is doing globally. Over to you, Sheila.
Thank you so much, Arif, for this moment to be here in Bangladesh, to be hosted, and to be a part of your conversations with your community. We have been looking at your work from afar and have been admiring the platforms you've created for incredible conversations. So thank you for having us here today. So, as you know deeply, Alliance for Science, from its very inception, 9 years ago now, we'll be 10 years old next year. Alliance for Science, our role is to raise pro-science voices, to give people the tools to make better decisions, and to give communities like farmers and marginalized communities information about frontier technology so that they can make choices about how to raise productivity, about how to challenge climate change, about even decisions about their health, so that they have enough scientific knowledge to make these decisions, and to do it in a way that doesn't make it feel hard, so that you don't have to go to school to have to know. You should be able to know how to make the decisions based on the work that we do. So that's what Alliance Science does. We're global, as you know. We're based in Cornell, in the Boyce Thompson Institute. We also have a base in Nairobi that serves Africa. We work across Latin America and Asia as well, and Europe as well. So we're very happy to be here today.
And you also work with Farming Future Bangladesh.
Oh, of course. I mean, I don't need to say that. You are the pioneer of Farming Future Bangladesh. So you took the seed that was planted in you in saying we need more pro-science voices, we need them in the communities that are most vulnerable, and you came back to Bangladesh and started Farming Futures Bangladesh, and now it is the incredible organization that it is, and it's now getting ready to serve the entire Asia region. So it's absolutely wonderful.
We'll get back to you. Ake, over to you. I mean, you have been working in the development sector, and you also worked in the farm. As we know that 80% of the total food in value proposition is actually produced by smallholder farmer. Being a smallholder farmer and advocate for them, where do you see that this new generation farmer fit into the transformation, and how you think that organizations like Alliance and Science Enabling, like agenda that we all are working for, can benefit them?
Thank you, Arif. I would like to echo what Sheila has already said about you and the work that you do as FFB. It's really been inspirational to us in the Global South Hub in Nairobi. But I don't want to answer that question without, I was here 10 years ago in Dhaka to visit my brother, Christmas 2011, in fact more than 10 years ago. And when I first got off the airplane, I was a little bit shocked by how dark it seemed to me, not just light-wise, but also it seemed smoggy, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's a lot of poverty here. And I'm from Ethiopia. I know what poverty is. We are one of the poorest nations in the world. I think bottom 3. And so but you know, I had a great time with my family, went back, and now I'm back 10 years later, and I was amazed by how completely
the practical transformation you have seen.
Transformed completely. The people look so much better, it's clean, the air is clean, it's green. So I'm beginning to wonder, you know, was it the way I was looking at the time, or there was an actual transformation in these 10 years that you maybe wouldn't be able to see because you live here. But for me, it's been amazing, and I want to say it's beautiful. It's really lovely.
So you have observed the transformation, practically have seen it.
Absolutely.
Is it only in Asia or in Africa or in the global south? What is your comment on that?
Well, in Dhaka here. That's the transformation I've seen in Dhaka. In terms of the youth, you know, I worked as a farmer, well, managing a coffee farm, a forest coffee farm in southwestern Ethiopia for about a year. But I've been in the farming sector in the past 10 years as well, so on and off, sometimes running my own farm, sometimes running other people's farms. Because of the political situation in our country, it was not always easy to know how stable it is. But what so in that decade, you see the desperation of our youth getting worse and worse every single year. And I'm talking about Ethiopia because that's where my experience of farmers are. Youth, both male and female, and they have different types of problems. In Ethiopia, for the male, it was more, at least from the group that I come from, it was more political. For the females, it was more societal because of how the patriarchy was set up in our country. And so what is their role? I mean, their role is clear. In Ethiopia, even though the head of the family is the father, the actual people who work on the farms are the youth. It's the men and the boys and the girls. So
the younger generation is coming forward in agricultural practice. Sheila, we were talking about Alliance for Science and the role it has played. We'd like to learn from you that COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, and the political instability across North and South has escalated a global crisis, particularly food security issue. We have seen heat wave in Pakistan and India and in China, flood, drought in Africa, flash flood. So the climate change all of a sudden has turned into a climate crisis. So we'd like to learn from you that where technologies are playing a role in that, and can smallholder farmers get better access to technologies?
Wow, yeah, this is an important question. First, let's not, let's take a moment to realize the scale of change that we as a global population have gone through. So climate change is accelerating. We know it, we see it in our everyday lives anywhere you live in the world. It's no longer a global south problem or a global north problem. It's just a global thing. We understand our vulnerabilities much more now. There is nobody living anywhere in the world that doesn't understand that they're vulnerable. Our lives are full of all types of uncertainties. And so we had that terrible moment where we had the 3 terrible C's: climate change, COVID, and the biodiversity crisis, all of them coming together. And then, of course, we had the war in Ukraine, which then, just as we're coming out of the COVID crisis, we're now hit by an economic systems challenge. And then we suddenly realized that the way we had imagined our world would be, a globalized world where you get a product from here, you don't grow everything that you need because you think you have, it's cheaper for you to get it from that side of the world, import this, grow this, and we thought that it would be one global food basket. But all it takes is a crisis like COVID or a war to realize that this long supply chains can actually make you way more vulnerable. So farmers across the global south had suddenly realized their vulnerability to lack of fertilizers because of what happened in Ukraine. So they're critical inputs. So just when we're getting over the fact that we're vulnerable because we don't have vaccines, then we find out we're vulnerable because we don't have our critical inputs for our agriculture. So these are the serious challenges. But I have to say that the world, as human ingenuity always gives us some hope, the world steps up to that. And a number of the technologies that are being deployed in terms of climate smart agriculture and all of those innovations, they're not new, but we've suddenly realized that we had these tools in our toolkit and now we need to deploy them faster and better. So we are thankful to the scientists that have been for decades developing, bringing on board technologies that bring climate smart technologies, drought resistant, drought tolerant, disease resistant. Those have been there, but the uptake was not so high until climate change became a real and present danger in our lives. So I'm an optimistic person. I believe that wherever there's a problem, the solution is embedded within it. And I believe that in our societies, our solutions are embedded. But what this challenge has taught us in the global nature of it is we have to work together.
Yeah, Aki, I'd like to learn from you that you are working as a director for communication in the Alliance for Science, and you have been advocating and working for evidence-based information sharing, and also unfolding the research and translating that in a way that it works both for policy and for behavioral change. So from your experience, do you see that it has any value in the food system transformation?
Absolutely. I mean, that's where the value is at. Because most of the time what you find in the scientific world is most of the research, which is amazing and has value beyond what we can quantify, stays within the shelves of the offices of the scientists. And there is really not many organizations take the time and the effort to bring it down, translate it to a way that our farmers and our entrepreneurs and our women and our youth can use. And so I think that is a role that is really as important, I would say, even almost as a doctor's, if you like. It's life-saving. You know, if you don't translate it to a way that people understand, then it really doesn't have as much value as it should.
Aki, you were talking about fact-based information sharing and evidence-based decision-making in the transforming of the food system. And the food system transformation, in a way, represents the transformation of economical benefit and well-being of human being. I'm more interested to learn about women and youth in agriculture and how empowerment of those community can be better, realized by the policymaker and by the government for overall economical development.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, really, problems are specific to the areas that you're looking at. So you can't say there's a magic bullet, a silver bullet that would work for all. So whatever solutions that you think of will need to be really, really localized. But in terms of how can you transform, I don't need to tell you that, empower women, you will empower a whole family. But I want to share a small anecdote of about 5 years ago. I was working with a tech company, a fintech company, and they had created this mobile lending app for low-income women. Mostly they called them for mama and bogas. These are women who sell vegetables from the farms and then sell it on the streets. And so as a test, they were testing on 12 women. So they brought them in, trained them, and they wanted to test this app. And so this woman borrowed a certain amount of money. And what she did, she went back to her house and then she lent this money to 10 other women. She wasn't supposed to do that. She was supposed to use it herself. And then they lent it to 10 other women. So instead of one woman, it became 20 women. So this kind of gives you an idea of empower a woman, you would empower a community.
The whole community,
yes.
right.
So
right,
that's kind of how women work, and youth as well. Yeah.
Dr. Sheila, the food system transformation, it's a complex issue.
It is.
It involves politicians, it involves private sector, it involves smallholder, it involves consumer, it involves vegan and everyone who not.
Yes.
So I don't know, I mean, where to start the question and end it, but this transformation is happening, and why Alliance is playing the role in the transformation?
Because food is one of our most sacred things. Every society identifies itself by the food it grows, the food it eats, the way it eats it. Every society, when you enter any home, they welcome you with a specific food. So food is a very sacred thing. And so governments take food sovereignty as an important thing, and the ability to be able to feed yourself, your family, and your nation is a thing that governments really, if they fail on that, they failed on almost everything else. And so the struggle to make your country self-sufficient as a leader is where they're all judged everywhere in the world. So you have that level of leaders trying to understand that. And then you have the fact that food trade is global, and that there's no country that is sufficient in everything it wants, and also that consumers have appetites that are now global. You know, I'm in the UK and I want to eat mangoes every day, and there's no mangoes in the UK, but I want to eat them every day. And the government, through its trade policies, makes sure that the average UK citizen can affordably eat a mango every day, even though the cost of eating this mango, when you think about, I can buy a mango for less than £1 in the UK, but really this mango has flown how many miles through how many continents? How much did the farmer get for that? So, and
how much carbon footprint it's leaving?
How much carbon footprint is that? So, you know, some of it is about our appetites as consumers. Also, we have to understand the impact of our appetites and the demands that we make, and also for our governments and our markets to adjust themselves to more equitable food systems that are fair, not just to the producer, but also fair to the planet, so that we're not, because of our insatiable appetites, we're not casting an unfair burden on the planetary system.
I'd like to request you for a last take-home message for the next generation farmer and next generation scientist. You are an advocate for science globally. We'd like to hear from you for our local audience and our young generation farmer and scientist. Any last take-home message from you?
My last take-home message is that the future is here. We need to be ready for the future that is at our doorstep. And in this future, there is a revolution which has started that includes biological systems, engineering systems. This is the fourth industrial revolutions. So all technologies are much more complex, and we have to understand them so that these technologies can serve us and not become our gods. And so we in the Global South, it's important for us to scale up rapidly our understanding so that our young people can enter this future and be able to be instruments of transformation, not just for our countries, but for the world.
Thank you, Dr. Sheila, and thank Ms. Ake for being here with us. We are taking this privilege and opportunity having you here and listening from you. দর্শক, আজকে আমরা আলোচনা করছিলাম ট্রান্সফর্মিং ফুড সিস্টেম অ্যান্ড ফুড সিকিউরিটি অ্যালায়েন্স ফর সায়েন্স অ্যান্ড গ্লোবাল সাউথ অফ যে কাজগুলো করছে গ্লোবালি সেই সম্পর্কে। ফার্মিং ফিউচার বাংলাদেশ অ্যালায়েন্স ফর সায়েন্সের সাথে কাজ করছে দীর্ঘদিন ধরে একসাথে সহযোগী প্রতিষ্ঠান হিসাবে। আমরা এই দীপ্ত কৃষি সংলাপ এবং অন্যান্য যে কার্যক্রমগুলো পরিচালনা করছে বাংলাদেশে, সেই কার্যক্রমগুলো আমাদের দীর্ঘমেয়াদী পরিকল্পনার এই অংশ। আমরা জানি বাংলাদেশ সহ পৃথিবীর উন্নত এবং অনুন্নত দেশে যেই ট্রান্সফরমেশনগুলো হচ্ছে, জলবায়ু পরিবর্তন, রাজনৈতিক অস্থিরতার মধ্যেও খাদ্যের উৎপাদন এবং উৎপাদনশীলতা বজায় রাখতে হচ্ছে। আমরা ক্রেডিট দিতে চাই সকল কৃষক, কৃষিবিদ এবং বিজ্ঞানীদেরকে যারা প্রতিনিয়ত কাজ করে যাচ্ছেন উন্নত প্রযুক্তির জন্য, ক্ষুধামুক্ত পৃথিবী গড়ার যে অঙ্গীকার আমরা নিয়েছি, পুষ্টিকর যেই জাতি গঠনের আমরা অঙ্গীকার নিয়েছি সেই কাজ করার জন্য। সবাই ভালো থাকবেন, নিরাপদ থাকবেন, সেই আশাবাদ ব্যক্ত করে বিদায় নিচ্ছি ফার্মিং ফিউচার বাংলাদেশ নিবেদিত আজকের এই আয়োজন, দীপ্ত কৃষি সংলাপের এই আয়োজন থেকে, পাওয়ার্ড বাই কাজী ফার্মস, কো স্পন্সর্ড বাই এয়ার মালিক সিট। সবাই ভালো থাকবেন, নিরাপদে থাকবেন।